Daughters tend to idolize their mothers, looking up to them and learning from them. Gail's mother, Alvera, seemed to live her life as a role model for her daughter, but as Gail got older, she realized her perfect mother was hiding a bizarre secret. Before we continue, please take some time to subscribe to Dailydose, like, and share this video with your friends. It took Gail 49 years and the help of the government to finally understand why her mother lied to her family for all her life, and funnily enough, it all started because of Alvera's desperate need to wear makeup all the time. Though Alvera appeared completely normal, she had a follow-up of daily activities that were a debate of questions in young Gail's mind. Her mom's few odd habits were bizarre and unexplainable, yet the little girl braved herself to talk to her about it. She wanted some answers to why her mom behaved so mysteriously, but all that came from Alvera was a set of puzzling and vague answers. However, there was one thing her mother did, which, according to Gail, was the strangest of all. Every day, Alvera would spend hours in front of the mirror, either putting on makeup or fixing the flaws, though she didn't have any. The strangest thing was, she wore makeup even before going to sleep. That was weird and against the beauty policies of women who make sure to remove every bit of makeup products off their faces before bedtime. Even when she was going to sleep, Alvera always made sure she had a light foundation on. Things weren't clear at first until... By now, Gail was pretty aware that women always dabbed their skin free of makeup every night before going to bed. Perhaps it was an equally important beauty regimen like the makeup routine itself. Yet, the young girl was hounded with confusion regarding her mother's weird behavior. Makeup at night were the kind of questions that urged her to beg an explanation from her mother. However, she held back her curiosity for days before gathering the courage to question her mother. Seemingly, Alvera never went out bare-skinned on sunny days. Either way, she never went out without a hat and gloves. These issues aside, the biggest one was the way Alvera narrated about her family. Whenever Gail asked her mother if she could meet her grandfather, Azamar Frederick, she would receive rather strange answers from her. Not only did Alvera ignore those requests, but she made sure that there were no photos of Azamar anywhere. All this stirred confusion, and Gail needed answers. Apart from cloaking her looks with foundation and sunscreen, Alvera never liked it out in the sun. Even if she did, she would make it a point to attire her looks with a hat, a pair of gloves, and clothes that weren't revealing from any angle. Though all this hinted out on signs of modest dressing, Gail's suspicions lodged her mind, leaving no room for other thoughts. Alvera's odd replies whenever asked about her family, her makeup routines, and everything else about her kept the young daughter occupied with selfless doubts. Gail was worried and decided to dig the matter. Meanwhile, time didn't seem to halt till Gail hunted the reason that pillared her mother's strange behavior. Years grew by, however. Gail was determined to track down the secret about her mom's peculiar habits. Over the years, Alvera assumed that her secret would remain safe with her. But she missed the fact that Gail would come up with some shocking questions in the future. Decades passed with peace, smiles, and family. Soon, Gail realized that it was time to put an end to her doubts. Years grew by, and Gail was 48 when she finally decided that she needed to take a stand and get the answers she needed. It was 1995, and Gail examined a scroll of microfilm to find if there was anything about her grandfather. Unfortunately, digging back into the past was easy said than done. But Gail never gave up, and her repeated efforts led her to the 1900 Louisiana census records, a pinhole that unfolded a certain clue. Gail had her fingers crossed while examining the microfilm, but she was let down, yet she knew that there had to be something about her mom's past. Perhaps when she grew close to the Louisiana census record, Gail hoped that she would stumble upon something useful. She felt that it was time she finished up with the mystifying doubts she had about her mom's odd behavior that she followed to date. Soon, Gail spotted something that demanded a second look from her. During her investigation, Gail discovered that almost all the names listed as Azamar Frederick had the letter B next to them. This confused her further. Gail couldn't understand what she was looking at initially. She had no clue who on the list was her real grandfather. There were so many Azamars, all suffixed with a B. Gail had no choice but to confront her mother after she grew suspicious of something. She continued looking at the records. However, the clueless B suffixed before most of the names, especially the Azamar she was looking for, drowned her in deep confusion. At first, Gail couldn't put their finger on the authenticity of what it meant. The concept seemed far from her understanding. Nevertheless, Gail knew that there was something odd about everything that lay in front of her eyes. She knew that the official records wouldn't lie, and that's when a pea-sized doubt started to take root in her confused mind. Now, Gail had to rest her belief clearly on one thing: evidence. But she was sure that she needed official proof and not just anything on mere paper. Gail knew that she needed answers and not questions again. It was time she felt that she was done attending to her disbelief, mystical queries, and her mom's weird behavior that never ceased. Without sparing a second to the clock, Gail sat down this time to crack the issue that hounded her ever since she knew the world. Sadly, the 48-year-old woman wasn't prepared for what came next. However, Gail knew that she had to confirm her suspicion before initiating the conversation with her mother. Without wasting further time, Gail reached out to the state of Louisiana to find her mother's birth certificate. She filed an official copy of Alvera's birth certificate, pretending to be her mother, and it wasn't long before Gail received the document in the mail. She was shocked at what she saw. The response from the authorities was timely and quick. While Gail expected a substantial reply, there was something that caught her eye off her belief. Years of trust came tumbling down, only to shatter the concept of family and love. At first, Gail thought that she saw the wrong thing, but right there on her computer screen, she read the true identity of her mother. Despite seeing the truth in the eye, Gail was quite unsure about what it meant. She reached out to the authorities again. A particular section in the document was quite strange and nothing was explainable at first. The part included the letter call, which Gail found very weird. She couldn't figure out what it meant and wrote again to the state of Louisiana. She demanded an explanation, or better yet, hoped that they would soon admit that they had made a mistake. But when she received another mail this time, the paragraph she read shook her from head to toe. It took Gail nearly 2 years to come out with the shocking truth she discovered about her mother. She knew that it certainly had a major tie with Alvera's weird makeup secrets. Now half of the reality stood abreast of Gail's face. For the remaining truth, most importantly the reason, Gail braved herself in front of her mom, hoping to get the answers she needed. This time, Gail was aware of everything, and there was no way her mother could escape her daughter's questions. What was the truth anyway? The letter was short and precise to the point. It read that coal denoted colored. At first, Gail couldn't believe her eyes. She wasn't sure whether her mother knew anything about this. The situation sparked a fire of thoughts, and that's when Gail remembered her mother's strange behavior. Finally, she visited her mother one afternoon and threw some questions at her. Alvera had no choice but to conceal the mystery anymore, and she opened up on the dark secret. Alvera didn't expect her daughter would crack the mystery that she had been hiding all these years. Moreover, she found it difficult to find another way to prolong the secret's longevity any further. Gail opened up that she found her mother's birth certificate, which she was listed as colored. The truth hounded Alvera, who instantly became nervous and uncomfortable. However, Alvera tried her luck in safeguarding the secret for one last time. She said, "I don't know about the birth certificate you have, but mine says I'm white." Gail didn't believe what she heard. Gail calmly made her mother understand that she was almost near the truth. When she revealed the census records in which her grandfather's identity was mentioned, Alvera couldn't believe her eyes. For years, the mother tried her luck in protecting her secret and was successful to a certain point. But now Gail had everything to prove that her mother was lying. Alvera remained quiet. Silence sprung from all corners, and for a moment she decided that it was time to break the shell that held her secret. She uttered something that Gail would never forget all her life. Alvera's strange makeup secrets had nothing to do with the sun or the gloves and even the hat. It was just that she pretended to be white all her life. Simply put, Alvera wanted to hide her true identity. She went on to crack the truth that Gail's grandfather, Azamar, was an African American. Their mixed nationalities forced Alvera to purge her true identity to live with the man of her dreams. Was love the only reason why Alvera concealed herself with makeup all the time? Perhaps yes. Marrying a white man and cutting the ties off her parental zone wasn't easy. However, Alvera managed to replicate things in her life that she hid most of the time. According to her, the duplicated lifestyle she chose meant no harm to her or anyone around, owing to the love she had for Harold and their daughter. After pouring out the secret, Alvera requested Gail just one thing: never to release the secret until her death. Sadly, Alvera passed away in 2014. After keeping the secret for 17 years, Gail decided to pen her mother's story and publish it. After the book was released, the rest of the family was shocked by the mysterious truth. However, Gail knew that her mother's decision was indeed the right thing to do back in a world where strict and uneasy norms were culverted in society, and she could not blame her mother for trying her best to hide her past. Gail was now aware of what led her mother to step into the skin of another identity. She knew it wasn't her fault. However, the then 48-year-old writer took time to digest the heartbreaking truth. Despite knowing it all, Gail tried to know more about her mother's past, but Alvera would immediately change the topic and ask about Gail's life instead. Gail understood that her mom didn't like to talk about it ever again. However, she grasped an important moral from her mother's story. Gail knew her mother wanted to be herself and feel comfortable in her skin, yet she had to mask her identity owing to the love she had for her husband, Harold. For love's sake, Alvera walked out on opportunities and the outlook society had in reserve for her. Gail understood that her mother turned her back on her identity and family to enrich her marriage vow with love and nothing else. From her mother's perspective, Gail felt how hurtful it would have been for Alvera never to live her true, authentic self.